Verse 12, chapter 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you having great wrath, because he knows that he has only a short time left. And when the dragon saw that he was cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. So he persecutes the Jews. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, times, and a half a time from the face of the serpent. Time, times, and a half a time. 3.5 years. When we see images of animals, we have to ask the question, is it possible that the animal reference has some kind of a reference to a nation? So, for example, when we were reading in Daniel, we talked about the goat. The goat was Greece. We talked about the ram that had 2 horns, and the ram was Media Persia. We talked about there was the tall statue that had, we didn't talk about it, but in Daniel there's a tall statue that has body parts made of various parts. Those are various kingdoms, the body parts of various kingdoms. I say all those things to say that the pictures that were given, oftentimes animals represent the kingdom. So we know that the goat represented Greece, we know that the ram represented the Media Persian Empire. So when I see eagle wings, I'm like, it's interesting that she was given the wings of an eagle. It doesn't say she was given the wings of a stork, or the wings of a condor, or the wings of a hummingbird, right? All of those could have their own reference. This specifically says the wings of an eagle. I don't know. I'm throwing this out again because I don't know. Could it be that the United States somehow helps her? Maybe. I don't know. Eagle, that's us. We're the eagle, right? Is it referencing the nation that somehow helps Israel escape? I don't know. We'll have to watch and pay attention. But it's worth noting that eagle means something, because it's referenced more than once. The serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the scripture that I read a little while ago says, there's scripture in Daniel that says that that it speaks specifically about a flood, and the term flood in Daniel is referencing an attack, a military onslaught. So I think it's pretty safe to assume that the word flood here also represents a military onslaught. So let's read this from a military standpoint. The serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood. In other words, water in the Revelation, we're going to see even more in just a minute, water represents people, oceans represent people. So the serpent, Satan, pulled together a military onslaught to go after Israel, to cause her to be carried away by this military attempt. That's what I believe verse 15 says. Verse 16, and the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed the military presence which the dragon had assembled. So I think what we're going to see, and this is going to be really interesting, is that there's going to be a huge military coup against Israel. There's going to be this massive attack toward Israel, probably right after he sets himself up in the holy place. If you remember, when we read Daniel and we were talking about the holy place, it says that Daniel identifies that a military presence is what puts the image of the beast in the holy place. Military does it. So we already know that the beast already has military ties by the time he establishes his presence in the holy place. Here we see that military presence is going after Israel, but that the earth is going to literally open up and consume these military forces. So what you'll see on the news is this massive group of people, tanks, whatever, headed toward Israel to destroy it. And literally the earth will open up and the military presence will fall into it. And it will close right over the top of them. And they'll come up with some way to explain it from science, because science is the religion of the day. But if you remember, we talked about the rebellion of Korah, Korah's rebellion, and how, if you remember, we were talking about the censer. Remember that? And Moses is like, hurry, Aaron, go run, get some fire from the censer, put some incense in that, and go throw it between the people and God. And so Aaron ran and did it, and he went and he threw the censer between the people, and the plague stopped right where the censer was, and the people that had died were 14,000. And this was right after Korah's rebellion. So Korah's rebellion happened, and then this happened. The people that were on the left side of the censer with the incense and the fire were 14,000 who had died on the right side. Remember that account we were talking about? Well, Korah's rebellion that happened just before that, if you remember, we talked about this. Moses is like, whoever's with Korah, go be with him, and who's ever with God, come over here. And all the people that went with Korah, what does Scripture say? It says that the earth opened up, it swallowed Korah and his family and their servants and their cattle, their donkeys, their mules, their tents, everything. And it says that they went alive into the pit and the earth closed over the top of them. I think that's the scene that we're going to see here with the military presence. It's going to be a way that the world will see God is defending Israel. It's not Israel defending Israel, but it's God defending Israel. The earth helped the woman, opened up its mouth and swallowed the flood which the dragon came. And the dragon was wroth with the woman. In other words, Satan is now peeved. He wants to destroy Israel and can't do it. No matter what he tries. He's trying to send a military presence. He can't do it. God intervenes. He's absolutely livid. The dragon was wroth with the woman, with Israel, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. So he's like, okay, I can't kill the ones that are going out into the wilderness. I'm going to go find the Jews all over the world, and I'm going to start killing the Jews all over the place. They can't be here for God to defend them. He goes after the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God, which would be the Jews, and have the testimony of Jesus. So here we go, guys. Satan tries to go and destroy Israel. He can't do it. He gets ticked. And he goes down globally to try to find Christians and Jews to kill them. Because he's done with it. He's going to take Christians and Jews off the face of the earth. So when you see these big groups of people in heaven that died for their faith, that's why. There's a massive genocide that happens when the beast takes power. And he will do everything he can to kill a Christian and a Jew. Those which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus. So, on that pleasant note, we'll stop and take a break. We have just finished Revelation 12. Revelation 12 is possibly one of the hardest chapters, I think, to understand because there's so much imagery in it. And it's taken a substantial amount of time and study and thought to process through it. I may have missed something in there. There may be something that I got partially, but I don't have all the way. I feel pretty good. I think I can defend everything that I said tonight. If you want to ask me anything, feel free. I should be able to do it. I typically won't talk about something unless I feel like I can defend it. So just know, though, that there's a lot of imagery in here. But what we've got here, and this, I was thinking about you when we were coming up to tonight. This is a snapshot. Remember how we were talking about the word then? The then? What's the then? When's the then? Is the then me making phone calls on the way to Dallas because traffic is light and I have time in the call? Or is the then me making phone calls after I get to Dallas because the traffic is heavy? We used the word then in those two sentences and we had to figure out from the context what then meant, right? This is one of those kinds of conversations because what we just had was a throwback into history. We started back behind us. So far we've been going talking about things that are coming up. Sans the first three horses. It could be that we've already been, it may be that we're already into the third horse of the apocalypse, as far as I'm concerned, it could be. But at least we know that the fourth horseman hasn't happened yet. Fourth horse on has kind of been things in the future. But here in Revelation 12, what we've had is a history lesson. We go back to the instantiation, the beginning of the nation of Israel, to the birth of Jesus, to the resurrection of Jesus. And then we jump forward into the beast kingdom, his anger with Israel, his desire to kill them, and then his annihilation of Christians and Jews, which hasn't happened yet because we're still all sitting here and we're not dead. Right? So we've got this this chapter 12 is the piece that's right in the middle of the Revelation that bridges everything from the past and takes us spoiler alert, into the future. It kind of spans the entire thing. And now, when we come back and we jump into chapter 13, we're going to actually learn about the beast itself. So, let's take a break, do our bio breaks and all that kind of stuff. And in 7 minutes, we'll come back and we'll jump into Revelation 13. Anybody have thoughts or questions?
Revelation 12, Revelation 12:18.
No, not in my